The New York Giants make a trade with the Arizona Cardinals to acquire linebacker Isaiah Simmons. Why did the Giants make the trade? Was it a smart trade? What does it mean for the roster? That and more on this special emergency edition of the Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to a special emergency edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. My name is Patricia Traina, P-Train, and this is, as I mentioned, an emergency podcast because we've got some big news to talk about here on this show, and that is the acquisition by the New York Giants of Arizona linebacker Isaiah Simmons. So I'm going to spend a few minutes answering some questions that have come in regarding this trade, what I thought of it, the value, why did the Giants make the trade, not wait, all that stuff. So I'm going to talk about all that on today's episode, this special episode of the Locked On Giants podcast. We've got a lot of episodes coming up starting, this week, next week and over the weekend. So a lot of stuff coming up. But anyway, let's get to the Isaiah Simmons trade. So the New York Giants sending a 7th round 2024 draft pick to the Arizona Cardinals to acquire Isaiah Simmons, a guy who basically out in Arizona, the Cardinals never quite figured out how to use this guy's talents. And the cost is not bad, 7th round draft pick. Some people were surprised that the Giants would actually give up a draft pick, considering that they only have 7 for next year. They had 7 for next year. They're not getting any comp picks. So let's take a look at the value here for a moment. The Giants are getting a young player, 25 years old, and their cost is only $1.01 million. That is Simmons's 2023 base salary. Now, Simmons was also paid a roster bonus by the Arizona Cardinals. So that roster bonus, I think it was something like $2.4 million. That counts against the Cardinals cap. That does not count against the Giants cap. So the Giants, with one player acquisition in Simmons, have upgraded inside linebacker, outside linebacker. They can get some snaps with him with his hand in the dirt. And they even got a guy who can play slot cornerback. So that also helps. So they've got a guy who could do multiple things. And I'll talk a little bit more about the role. But I want to talk about first why the Giants made the trade. Because some of you, when the news broke this morning on Twitter, you were like, Pat, why would they give up a draft pick when they don't have a whole lot to give up in terms of extra picks? And here's why, folks. Joe Schoen, the Giants general manager, does not let grass grow under his feet. It's that simple. So what I mean by that is the Giants are 25th in the waiver wire order, and they will be 25th for, I think, the first 3 weeks of the season. The waiver wire order reflects the draft order, the original draft order from the past spring's draft. So if you're the New York Giants and you're looking to upgrade certain spots, and you know that, a potential solid player is going to become available, what are the odds you're going to be able to get that player, that he's going to fall down to you at number 25? And by the way, there's such a thing as priority waivers, meaning that, you can put in waiver claims for like 3 players, for example, but the league kind of also specifies that you have to establish who's the priority. So if you have an opportunity to trade away a 7th round pick for a former top 10 draft pick, it makes sense. All right. So that's what the Giants did. Joe Schoen probably figuring that if the Cardinals cut Simmons, there was no way he was going to fall down to him at 25. So give up a 7th round pick where, sometimes you get lucky and you get 7th round picks work out for you, but a lot of times you don't. It's really not a bad deal if you think about it. Now, people will say, well, now the Giants only have 6 draft picks for next year. Folks, I firmly believe the Giants are going to try and get some additional draft picks. Joe Schoen is going to try and trade some of the guys that he's looking to cut this, next week when they make the final roster cuts for training camp. and see if he can't get that 7th round pick back. So I don't know if he'll be able to do it, but I know he's going to try, because that's what good GMs do, ladies and gentlemen. They don't sit on their hands and sit there and say, well, maybe I'll get lucky and this guy will fall down to me, or maybe I'll get lucky and I'll be able to get a 7th round pick for this guy. No, they are proactive. They stay on top of what's going on around the league, and they plan accordingly. And that's what I fully expect the Giants and Joe Schoen to do. All right. So now the next question is what do I think about the trade? Love it. In 2020, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2020, it was down to Andrew Thomas and Isaiah Simmons. And I know a lot of people wanted Isaiah Simmons, but quite honestly, the Giants needed the tackle. They needed the offensive tackle, and Andrew Thomas was the pick. And I don't think anybody today is crying over that decision, to be honest with you. So now the Giants have 2 top 10 picks from that 2020 draft class, one on offense, one on defense. How much better is this team going to be with those 2 guys? Thomas locked in as the left tackle for the future, and now Isaiah Simmons coming in, who, if he has a solid year for the Giants in the role that he's going to play for them, gosh, what a steal that is. All right. They'll be able to sign him probably, to a modest contract extension. So a solid job there. So Isaiah Simmons, that trade, absolutely love it, because again, a 7th rounder for a former 1st round pick that, again, didn't reach his potential because his team didn't really know how to use him. And plus, with the changing in the coaching staff, you put him on a Wink Martindale defense. And ladies and gentlemen, that Giants defense, which already was starting to look sick, is going to look sicker this year. So I am excited about the addition of Isaiah Simmons to this defense. So, okay, the next question is, what role is he going to play, right? Well, I'm going to tell you, I got to take a quick commercial break, but then I will tell you. So hang on. All right, Giant fans, these days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates, right? So that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. I myself have used LinkedIn Jobs to find aspiring writers and editors for the Giants Country site that I run over on SI's Fan Nation, and the process is not only super easy, but a big time saver. All you have to do is add your job and the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. And simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize whom you'd like to interview and hire. So don't spend time sorting through endless resumes and dead-end leads. Put LinkedIn Jobs to work for you today for free by visiting linkedin.com/lockedonnfl. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Giant fans, welcome back to this special emergency edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. So this is a little shorter show than what I normally do because it's focused on really one topic, but this is a big topic, obviously, to discuss, and that is the Giants' acquisition of Isaiah Simmons from the Arizona Cardinals. So everybody's like, okay, where's this guy going to fit in? What kind of role is he going to have on this Wink Martindale defense? Folks, all right, the best way I can describe it is, go back to when Wink was the defensive coordinator at Baltimore, and he had Tony Jefferson as a pseudo linebacker / safety type role. That's the role that I believe the Giants are going to be looking for Isaiah Simmons to fill on this Wink Martindale defense. So he's going to primarily be a linebacker. Is he going to do some coverage work like a safety would? Absolutely. Will we see him in the slot? Absolutely. I think that all but clinches the fact that Darnay Holmes is not going to make this team. Not that I thought he was going to make it before this trade, but pretty much I don't think Darnay, I think this is a done deal as far as Darnay Holmes goes. So now with the addition of Simmons to the roster, who does he push off the roster that maybe I had projected to make the roster on the final 53 or the initial 53, I should say, the show that I did on Thursday? I thought about that, and I ran some possibilities and scenarios. And, the thing about Wink's defense is it's a positionless defense. So to say that, okay, they're going to steal a a spot at inside linebacker, or they're going to steal a spot at outside linebacker or at cornerback. It's hard to forecast that. But if I had to take a guess, I think the spot's going to come from outside linebacker. Now, I think initially I had Tashawn Bauer making the initial 53. If that's what I had, and I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I don't have the notes in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he was on there because I remember writing a whole big, write up over why he was better than O'Shane Simmons. I think Bauer is the one who now loses out on a roster spot to Isaiah Simmons. Now, is it possible they keep Bauer and Simmons? Sure, it's possible, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So the bottom line is now with Simmons on board, what else do the Giants need to do? Simmons obviously upgrades, like I said, inside linebacker, outside linebacker. He upgrades the slot position, gives Wink Martindale multiple options now. So again, what else do the Giants need to do between now and the time they play the Dallas Cowboys? Well, the one position that I think they really need to beef up still is depth at cornerback. I'm still not totally comfortable with what they have as far as depth at cornerback. And I think the proof's kind of in the pudding with that because the Giants worked out veteran William Jackson III this week, possibly in anticipation to see, okay, will a cornerback shake loose that maybe they can claim off waivers? And if not, could they maybe sign, be ready to sign William Jackson, in a snap? Now, a lot of people are like, well, why didn't the Giants, why did they let William Jackson leave right away? So yeah, the reason why they let Jackson leave and not sign him could be twofold. Number one, they wanted to wait and see how things shaked out, obviously, or it is possible that Jackson, being a veteran, just didn't want anything to do with what was left of training camp. And it's like, okay, I'm going to come in, when it starts to count for real, if, the money is right, of course. So that's probably, what the truth's probably somewhere in the middle there. Now, that doesn't mean that the Giants are going to sign William Jackson, but it's pretty clear to me that the cornerback depth is still a little iffy. And I'd like to see them maybe upgrade that somewhat if they can. So bottom line, folks, the addition of Simmons, huge, huge, huge for that defense. If they can get out of him what he showed at Clemson and what his skill set shows, this defense, boy, it just got even better. And it's going to be exciting to watch, to be honest with you. So, all right, Giant fans, that's going to do it for this special emergency edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. Like I said, this is a little shorter show than what I normally do, but I wanted to put a podcast out because so many of you wanted my reaction. You had questions. So hopefully I answered all those. Keep it here on the Locked On Giants podcast. We've got plenty more coming up. On Friday, Ralph Ventry of Jets Country and I talk about the Giants-Jets preseason finale and what to watch on each side. Saturday, Ed Valentine is going to be with me as we talk about, the roster, the state of the roster, and what still needs to be done. Sunday, we're going to do a updated roster prediction show. Nick Filato is going to join me on that. And I'm also hoping to have Alex Clancy to come on the program with me at some point to give us a little bit more insight into Isaiah Simmons and how he wasn't used properly in Arizona and what he could potentially bring, what he's seen basically from his time when he was with the Cardinals. So all that's coming up. Thank you so much for tuning in to this special edition, and we'll see you again soon.